It's almost time for summer. But before you hit the beaches, you got to come through Charlotte and our Memorial Day tradition.
And it's the big one.
It's a time for racing.
Oh, Larson's around!
But it's also a time to reflect on those who made the ultimate sacrifice.
It's impressive what our sport does to truly get into the meaning behind Memorial Day.
Strap in, folks. We're going through wide.
Oh, they're wrecking!
This is NASCAR's crown jewel.
I grew up watching this race.
This is the Coca-Cola 600.
The Queen City is America's home for racing, which makes this weekend's crown jewel event the Homecoming Dance. Welcome into Around the Track, Carla Gebhardt, Gabe McDonald, and the Coca-Cola 600. Gabe, it's upon us.
Absolutely. We're finally here, and it's one of the biggest races of the year, and not just because of how many miles we're driving, because we have a huge guest on deck, the man attempting both the 600 and the Indy 500 in the exact same day, none other than Kyle Larson. And he's not the only one we're talking to. Danny Harnden is trackside with some news that'll affect how these drivers take on the track in those 600 miles.
That's right. In the athletics, Jordan Bianchi is in the infield of CMS right now. He's got the latest on some potential free agents in the Cup Series. We're going to get to all of those guys here shortly. But first, welcome to NASCAR's endurance test. 600 miles of unpredictable conditions, unpredictable drivers, and unpredictable results. The Coca-Cola 600 is one of the sport's most prestigious races because of the challenge it presents. We're not just talking about it being the longest race of the season. It's also one of the toughest because the race starts in the daylight and ends at nighttime. Conditions of the track change as the sun goes down. Don't forget spotty showers in the forecast right now as well. But this isn't the first rodeo for these drivers, but it's a wild ride you need on your resume to become one of NASCAR's elite.
It's the longest one. I'm already trying to hydrate, so it'll be good. We finished fourth last year. Tyler finished fifth, so a really good day for 2311 last year. Not guaranteed to have that again. We got to go out and earn it, so it all starts on Saturday.
Certainly, I feel like our brand new Toyota Camry is a step up in the right direction from the car we had last year. And from everything I've seen so far this week in preparation, our car's right where it needs to be, and it has just as much capability as the car did last year.
None of the prep has been too different. I've probably done, for obvious reasons, a little bit more prep for the 500, but I feel like we'll be in a good spot for the NASCAR stuff. And, I think we proved that at the All-Star race last week. I had 0 laps of practice, didn't get to watch a whole lot of practice anyways. And, went out there and still had a shot to win, at one point in the race. So, I would say our process is fine.
Let's go ahead and tackle CMS by the numbers, shall we? We're going 400 laps and 600 miles on this 1.5-mile oval. It'll be spread out over 4 100-lap stages, so extra stage to get some more stage points. The front stretch is 1,980 feet, while the back is slightly shorter at 1,500. The banking in all 4 corners is at an even 24 degrees. 4-time Coke 600 winner Jimmy Johnson boasts the fastest lap at CMS, but Darrell Waltrip lays claim to the most wins with 5. Well, joining us now is Danny Harnden, ahead of the Coke 600 coming up at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Danny, appreciate you joining us. When you look at this race, and obviously it coming in Memorial Day weekend and at the halfway point of the season, what makes this race so special, of course, with it being Memorial Day weekend?
It is a big, big deal, Gabe. If NASCAR had majors like tennis and golf, this would be considered one of the majors, like the Daytona 500 or the Darlington Fall Race or Bristol Night Race or Talladega or the Brickyard. This is a big, big deal to win this race. Before you retire, before you walk away from this sport, the Coke 600 is the one you definitely want.
And when you look at this being another 1.5-mile track, what are some of the nuances? Because we know across the sport, every track is different. We recently went to Darlington, shaped like an egg, North Wilkesboro, obviously for the All-Star race. What is it that makes Charlotte Motor Speedway rather, so unique?
Yeah, it's not just Charlotte Motor Speedway, it's the time of the day of this Coke 600. They start in the sunlight, and then you have sunset and dusk. It changes to that, and then it finishes at night. So those crew chiefs in the box right down on pit road, they've got a lot of work to do to keeping things up with the tires and how to make adjustments, because it is a totally different race at 6:20 when they start this thing and when they end it about 10 o'clock at night. So it takes a lot of talent, a lot of knowledge to get yourself through this race.
Danny Harnden, appreciate the time. Thank you.
Let's keep this party going because Jordan Bianchi, fresh off getting one of the biggest brawls of the year. He's at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Jordan, we talked more about that a little bit later, but first things first, Charlotte holds a very special place for everyone in the NASCAR community, right?
I mean, this is a home race for everybody, which means all of the teams come out here and watch this race. All the family and friends are out here to watch this race. This is a big deal because this is one of the few times this year where you get to compete before everybody at your shop, before all your family and friends. So yeah, to win here is a really big deal for a lot of reasons beyond just the importance that this is a crown jewel race.
And we've talked about the length, of course. This is a big endurance test because we've even heard the drivers sneaking snacks in their car for this race. But it's Ford who's actually sneaked away with 2 wins in a row. Black Listowski got points at Darlington. Joey Logano got $1 million in North Wilkesboro, which is nice as well. What's Ford done differently the last few weeks to finally break through this season?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. There's some people in the garage that Ford has been tweaking their engines a little bit and they found something with some horsepower and they've gotten more of it. Ford says that's not the case. They are always continuing to try to make their engines faster. The teams will tell you that they've got a better understanding of this race car. They've had a few races underneath their belt now. They know what works, what doesn't. And you look at Joey Logano, a week ago he won at the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. He'll tell you it was because he put 800 laps of a test there, and they were able to fine-tune from that and use that as a template to kind of get better. So we'll see. I mean, this is a good spurt for them. We saw this a year ago. Ryan Blaney at Team Penske in a Ford won this race, and coming in here, Ford, it was kind of the same position they're in now. Not much success on the racetrack, but they hit on the head last year in this race, and it seems to be that they're kind of on that same blueprint where they're getting better as the season goes along.
Speaking of Ford, and you just mentioned Ryan Blaney winning the Coca-Cola 600 just last season, but he is a driver, the number 12 for Team Penske, hasn't won at least yet this season. I feel like a lot of people think that he's close, but I feel like if you ask him, he feels like he hasn't reached his full potential. Why is that?
Well, I mean, honestly, bad luck. I mean, they've had a lot of strong runs this year that haven't materialized into finishes that correspond with how fast their car had been. At one point this year, Ryan Blaney led the point standings, and it looked like everything was kind of going much like the end of last season went. But then they hit some bad stretches there with really a lot of bad luck. Nothing really their fault. If you go back to Kansas, for example, issue there. You go back a few weeks before that, another problem. It's just been one thing after another with this team where they really can't stay out of their way. It's not necessarily mistakes they're making, but they're not putting themselves in the best position. And because they're not in the best position, they're getting caught up in a lot of things. And they've had some issues on pit road as well.
Jordan, this might be the most anticipated question of the weekend. Silly season actually started early this year. Mike McDowell, a Ford driver, he was the first domino to fall heading over to Spire. But you have even more coming. What do you know right now about silly season and they're going on right now at the midway point?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the way the silly season looks now, it's going to be one of the craziest we've seen in recent memory, and that's saying something considering the big moves we've seen the last few years. But right now, we've got an organization, Stewart-Haas Racing, which has won 2 championships since 2011, and the way things are pointing, they're going to be making some big decisions here in the next few weeks, and there's a strong chance they may not be on the track next year in the Cup Series. They have 4 charters in their possession. They're having conversations with multiple teams in the garage about selling those charters, and there's a likelihood that in the next couple weeks, they're going to make an announcement about their future in the Cup Series. And more likely than not, they're going to be in a very different shape than they are next year, whether that's completely off the track altogether or downsized in some capacity. The Stewart-Haas Racing that we know as a 4-car team is very much going to change, and that is a big deal because the domino effects from that are big. One, who's going to buy those charters? We've heard about Front Row Motorsports as a strong chance. We've heard about 2311 as a possible contender as well. And then what happens to their drivers? Chase Briscoe, Noah Gregson, Ryan Preece, and Josh Berry, all drivers who have proven themselves to varying degrees in the Cup Series. And a lot of those cases, they deserve seats in the Cup Series. But where they fill out when this game of musical chairs ends up, there's a chance that 1, 2, maybe more don't have a seat next year.
One guy we can always count on with the latest, Jordan Bianchi of The Athletic. Thank you for joining us, as always, my friend.
That's right, and those guys might be on the move. And let's be honest, this weekend, our next guest is going to be traveling quite a bit.
It felt like, Phoenix in a stock car. Just you're going 7
faster,
seconds quicker and all that.
Might be the only driver to make running the double look easy. We sit down with Kyle Larson before race day.
And I didn't hear no bell. The fight that was the highlight of the All-Star race now has repercussions. We have a verdict, a punishment, and a warning, but it's coming from someone you wouldn't expect. And you know what else is in Charlotte, Carla? The NASCAR Hall of Fame over in Uptown.
That is right, Gabe, and we just learned who the class of 2025 will be. We got more around the track when we return. So how much do you know about this legendary NASCAR race? Here's some trivia for you. How many drivers have won the Coca-Cola 600 and the NASCAR Cup Series championship in the same year? We'll give you a hint. 2 of these guys did it twice. If you think you know, use the hashtag around the track to give us your answer, and we'll send some lucky winner some swag. We'll reveal the answer here in just a little bit.
Well, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. might have answered the bell, but now he's got to tap into his bank account. NASCAR fined the JTG Daugherty driver $75,000 for throwing punches at Kyle Busch after last week's All-Star race. And not only that, his father Ricky Sr. and 2 other JTG crew members have been suspended from NASCAR for continuing the melee. Now, Busch was not fined or penalized. All of this stemming from what seemingly looks like the 8 wrecking the 47 out on lap 2 of last week's All-Star race. Just before punches were thrown, Ricky said he was going to wreck Rowdy out of Charlotte. Well, the owner of that car had something to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I would have jumped right in the middle of it.
And done what?
Well, I was started fighting. I don't fight as fair as I used to. I'm a little older, but Ricky Stenhouse said that he was going to wreck the 8 car at Charlotte. Well, when I see him, I'm going to tell him if he does. I'm older, but I've just changed my style of fight. He'll carry a rough beating.
I think I'd take RC in that fight, by the way. Now, only one person has done it successfully, but Tony Stewart pulled off all 1,100 miles of the Indianapolis 500 and the Coke 600 in the same day. Now, Tony has driven against Hendrick Motorsports' Kyle Larson, the man who will take aim at not only just completing that feat this weekend, but winning at least one of them. I spoke with Kyle earlier this week in Garage Confidential.
What has the preparation been like since even January leading up to the month of May?
I think it's sometimes surprising people when I say there really hasn't been like a whole lot of prep, just because, you know, I don't have much experience in the car, so I don't know like what to even look for in preparation. But you know, in the couple times that I've gotten to drive it, you know, something new stands out to me that I can, you know, kind of check off the list, like, okay, that was good to experience that and think about it. So I've looked at as much data as I feel like I can without overwhelming myself, and trying to watch, you know, videos of restarts and just pit stops and how people, you know, save fuel, all that. So I feel like for, you know, where I'm at now, I feel like I'm as prepared as I can be until I actually can like get in the car more frequently.
What's that like? Is there any comparison to anything else that you've driven? I mean, you're going super fast. I know you've been on the track with some other Indy cars too, and that probably makes a difference than just when you're out there on your own.
Well, I would say, you know, the speed for sure is crazy. You know, every time I've gotten in it, you know, the first run of the day, like my brain is not quite ready to go that fast. So adjusting that's been fun. But then as far as like the car drives, it to me it doesn't drive way different than, you know, a new, you know, NASCAR next gen car. I think our cars, even though they look way different and all that, they are different. You know, they've transitioned definitely more to, you know, what an IndyCar build is like: independent suspension, you know, shorter sidewalls on the tires. So like, what I feel in my hands so far, like I tested Phoenix a few months ago, and it felt like, you know, Phoenix in a stock car. Just you're going 7 seconds quicker and all that. But the grip is so high in the Indy car, it doesn't feel like you're going 7 seconds faster.
I know you won't really know what the day's like until you actually go through it, but what are you anticipating as far as kind of your schedule to do the Indy 500 and then to get back here in Charlotte for the Coke 600?
Yeah, I mean, it's a long day for sure. I mean, 1,100 miles. If everything goes smooth, you know, I think I have a decent, you know, window of 45 minutes to an hour by the time I would hopefully get to Concord before the race. But yeah, it'll be hectic, but it's, to me, I don't think, you know, I keep my schedule pretty crazy, you know, racing all this, you know, dirt racing that I do on top of NASCAR, and, you know, racing two different things in the same day. Like, I mean, even going back to Kansas, like we didn't finish qualifying until 6 p.m. and I had to, you know, drive super fast to get to Lakeside Speedway, and I was on track at like 6:45 there. Yeah. So to me, those feel more hectic than what I imagine this might feel like. But I think physically, you know, and mentally, it might be more draining, just the amount of time you're behind the wheel throughout the day. But I like that challenge. I like, you know, doing something rare that's only been done a handful of times, and hopefully it just goes good.
Just because I'm interested from an athletic standpoint, I mean, are there going to be IVs, snacks, naps? Like, what will you even have time for any of that on the way?
Well, I don't think I'll have time for a nap.
Yeah.
But, so far, currently we do have like an IV scheduled on the airplane. I don't ever typically get IVs, but I got one last week just to kind of see like what it would feel like and my body and all that. And I got 2 bags, so I think I'm gonna bring that down to 1 because I had to use the bathroom a lot. But I don't know. I mean, just try to get good sleep throughout the week. Eat well. Just try to stay on a somewhat of a schedule, I guess. But I don't know. I think I've got a good group kind of surrounding me.
So here's the skinny on doing the double. It's not easy, even for the world-class drivers out there. This is a look at some of the best finishes. John Andretti was the first to attempt it back in 1994, and he didn't even finish that race either. Tony Stewart finished 4 laps shy in the 1999 Indy 500, and then in 2002, he not only became the only driver to finish both races, but placed 6th at Indy and 3rd in Charlotte. Well, it takes a lifetime of dedication to make the NASCAR Hall of Fame, but a new list of names have finally achieved that dream, and that includes Ricky Rudd. You're going to hear from him and find out who else got in next.
And some say the United Center in Chicago is the house that Michael Jordan built, but we beg to differ. 2311 has new digs, and we were the first to go inside. We got more around the track coming up next. All right, folks, time is up when it comes to our Coke 600 trivia question. Did you get it? How many drivers have won the Coca-Cola 600 and the NASCAR Cup Series Championship in the same year? We even gave you a hint. The answer? Drum roll, please.
The drum roll. All right, 6 drivers have won this race and then went on to win the Cup Series. Last year, Ryan Blaney joined a list that also included Kyle Larson, the King, Richard Petty, and Darrell Waltrip. 2 guys have accomplished the feat twice, Jeff Gordon and the Intimidator, Dale Earnhardt Sr.
Well, the house that MJ built is now open. 2311 Racing's airspeed is at full speed. Earlier this week, we got the first look at the building that broke ground just a year ago. Employees moved into the facility back in December. Even though they haven't been in there all that long, co-owner Denny Hamlin says his team is already reaping the benefits of the state-of-the-art technology himself and Michael Jordan have brought to Huntersville, North Carolina.
It's no different than when you're searching for the best athletes on pit road, or you're searching for the best engineers or crew chiefs or drivers. You want to bring them to your facility. I mean, everyone that takes their kids to college, right? They're checking out, well, where am I going to eat? Where's the dorms? Things like that. We have to create a differentiator in our place of work.
A place that all racing fans should check out. Well, one of the other cool things about NASCAR coming home to Charlotte is the newest class of the Hall of Fame gets announced, Carla.
That's right. 4 more names are about to be immortalized with the race's greatest honor. And of course, congratulations to Carl Edwards, Ricky Rudd, and Ralph Moody, the 2025 NASCAR Hall of Fame class. Rudd won 23 races in his 32-year racing career, including the 1997 Brickyard 400. He was also the 1977 Rookie of the Year. Carl Edwards will be enshrined with 72 career wins across all 3 major series. He was the 2007 Xfinity Series champ and finished runner-up in the Cup Series twice. He can also do backflips off of his car, as you see there. But Ralph Moody gains entry to the Hall after a long time on the ballot, 5 Cup Series wins in the mid-50s, but then formed a powerhouse Cup Series team that included Fireball Roberts and Bobby Allison. Dr. Dean Sicking, the inventor of the safer barrier, will be getting this year's Landmark Award. And of course, we caught up with Ricky Rudd after getting the life-changing news earlier this week.
You try not to get too excited about it this day. I always know when it comes up, and I always made a point that if we're traveling, I always try to make sure I was in town this day, just in case I got a phone call. And today I got an anonymous text. So you might want to be in Charlotte downtown. And I'm thinking, downtown Charlotte, it's Hall of Fame day. What? Are you serious? Yeah, okay. It didn't take long. I hopped in the shower, jumped in his clothes, and here we are.
2 of the last 3 winners of the Coca-Cola 600 have gone on to win the Cup Series title. So who do we think is taking this beast of a race? Victory Lane locks. Those are next.
Time to finish up with those victory lane locks, but first let's get what the books say. These odds courtesy of DraftKings. Despite driving in a full race earlier in the day, Kyle Larson is your favorite in the Coke 600 at 9-2. He last won this race in 2021. Denny Hamlin's at 6-1. Tyler Reddick is 8-1. William Byron and last year's Coke 600 winner Ryan Blaney are both 10-1. Rounding out the top 10, Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Christopher Bell, and Ty Gibbs.
All right, so we both hit it a couple of times this season, but I think it's time to break the tie. So, Gabe, who do you have?
Give me the Charlotte kid, William Byron, to get it done in the Crown Jewel on his home track. He's proven he can win anywhere. Won at Daytona, won at Coda, also won at Martinsville. Let's give him a mile and a half. I like to get it done in the Coke 600.
On his home track. All right, I'm going with Denny Hamlin. Listen, he has won the Coca-Cola 600 once before, already called a shot for the championship, so maybe that works in reverse.
Yeah.
Of course, Gabe, it is also Memorial Day weekend this weekend, so we hope you enjoy the race, but we also want to wish a happy Memorial Day weekend and thank our military men and women.